Hello and welcome to Patrick's Models and Transport. So I'm finally tackling the Faller water tower, the small water tower for the Chapelon-Crosti layout. And this is a Faller. I bought this for €5, unpainted. It's missing the base. I could even do without the base if I wanted, but I'll make it a base out of balsa, because this is going to be fitted in this corner here, like that, and this is at risk of being knocked over by me, so I'm going to make a nice balsa base for it to sit on, and the balsa base will have a wee screw that will screw into the board, or a couple of screws or something, just to make sure that no accidents happen and this thing doesn't go on the floor and then it gets a sore head. So let's talk about it now. You can see that it's pretty plasticky grey finish, including there's a sort of blemish there. This must have fallen on the floor at one point in its career. It was absolutely filthy. Here's the very dirty tissue paper I used. How did I clean it? LCD screen cleaner, sprayed in this wee vessel here, applied with grotty Airfix paintbrush, and then wiped off with a tissue and with cotton buds. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to give this a undercoat of surface primer, so that the silver paint, because I'm going to paint the cistern silver, I'm not going to bother painting the trestle work in another colour. Brown will do very well, but I might very well maybe apply it, give it a coat of a bit, sort of weather it a bit, because with a dirty brown mixed with black, because to cut down the plasticiness in it, because it really looks pretty plasticky to me, and this way will also maybe highlight those rivets better, but we'll see. First we'll paint the silver. In my opinion, once you paint the silver, the tank silver, you get rid of this plasticky effect. In fact, if we look at the link, here's one for sale on Amazon, you'll see that the tank nowadays is made in a kind of silver with a darker grey roof. I'm going to paint the whole lot silver, because typically these things here are painted over in zinc paint to give them, to protect them against rust. So they generally have a silver paint. So let's get going. So I've given the water cistern a coat of surface primer. There it is. Now I'm going to give it a first coat of Vallejo silver, and we'll see how it comes. Alright, so I've given it the first coat of silver, and once I've done the silver, I'll also give the balcony here, the flooring of the walkway, of the catwalk, a bit of maybe a spot of matte grey, just to get rid of some of the plastic, something that will blend in, even just around the base of the water tank. So that'll definitely need two coats, but it's already looking less plasticky. The column here, where the pipes are, that'll stay dark matte grey, that's okay. And then we'll also do a spot of weathering with some quite wet black mixed with a brown, just to reduce the plasticiness of the trestle work here, of the trestle. Before doing that, I'll fit this ladder. There's a ladder that has to be fitted, which could be fitted in Tamiya cement, or more likely I'll just do all the painting and then I'll do the glue and glaze at the end, because I think that might be the best idea, to fit the ladders on with glue and glaze. Okay, very well, that's that done. Next step, next coat of hand of silver. Hello and welcome to Patrick's Models and Transport. So I've given a second coat of paint to the water cistern, and now I've made quite a watery shade of brown, which is leather brown mixed with matte black, to get a more matte and weathered looking shade of brown on the outside of the trestle work, of the trestle. And I'm leaving the actual original brown inside, which is of course less exposed to the elements, and that will give it a bit of sort of three-dimensional effect. And even with a lighter brown shining through, it gives a kind of rusty effect as well. So okay, I'm going to make some more brown now and continue with the job. We'll see how the finished result is. The same, I'll apply the same thing to the railings here as well. That'll be actually easier to do once we might have to give it another coat of silver, and then I'm going to have to correct the catwalk up here a bit because there's some silver on it. So I've painted the trestles matte, this very liquid, one coat of this very liquid matte dark brown, which is brown, leather brown by Vallejo, with a spot of some black inside it. Thus I'd say a 60, maybe 70-30 ratio. And now I'm also just painting the railings up here with the dark brown paint, one coat only, and will remain with some of this more reddish brown shining underneath, which will actually make an interesting kind of rusty kind of effect. Of course, the water tower is painted silver. These kind of things are regularly kept painted in silver to protect them against corrosion, zinc paint, and might require a final, and then we'll have to get the... Okay, so let's get going. All right, so here's the completed finished water tower. So I've painted 3 coats of silver paint to the tank. Then I touched up the walkway with some light grey to simply cover up the silver that had sort of spilled a bit on there, and that would be pretty realistic anyway. I've left the original grey plastic here at the side, not to complicate my life excessively, and it would make sense anyway for that part where people walk and maybe water gathers to be painted more frequently. And you can see the single coat of matte dark brown, which makes the rivets stand out and makes it look definitely less plasticky. Also did the railings. In this part here, some silver had gone to railings, and I wiped it off with a wet cotton buds, and the original lighter brown is sticking out underneath, which is actually nice because it's a sort of rust effect. So it's quite nice. I quite like that. I'm going to fit the 2 ladders, one ladder here and another ladder down to the bottom. But before doing that, I want to fit this to a base. And I've been considering various types of bases. I was thinking of a kind of soft bed, but in the end, what I'm going to do, I'm going to recycle the top of the lid of a cheese box, some Parmesan cheese box. Here you can see there's some original brown there. It's a kind of rusty effect. That's quite nice. And I'll paint it grey, cement grey. I haven't touched this white pipe that comes down like this, and I guess this is white because it would be covered in lagging. There would be lagging there, so white lagging to stop the water from freezing, which would make absolutely sense. So we'll fit this to a base so that we can stand it here in the corner right there without the risk of it falling over, and I might even ballast the waist with the base a bit with some tire. Somehow or another I'll ballast it, because to make sure it doesn't fall over. Okay, and I'll fit the ladders. The ladders are in here. There they are. And I actually got those two ladders in the exact ladders, the right length, because this was missing the ladders, and I got them in another assorted box of bag of bits and pieces that I bought. So I'll be getting that done very soon. So now we will turn our attention to this Lima locomotive. Cheerio, and see you next time.